something we really, really need to be proud of. We're extremely happy with it, and I know we all are, but it's always great to have validation because, you know, a lot of people don't believe what we say individually as a council and even collectively. So it's very verifying to me to have Brian to come and speak on behalf of the owners of the Phenix City. Brian?
All right, appreciate it, Mayor, council members. Appreciate the opportunity. I also have with me here Stephen Boynick. He's one of our partners, but he worked close with Labrita and doing the audit and getting these financial statements to you all. So again, appreciate him being here. Again, I'll be brief in my remarks, but just kind of walk through some of the high points of the audit. Again, the financials look good. So if you'll turn to the auditor's report, it's right there behind the table of contents. So it just talks about what we as auditors are doing, and our job is to give an opinion on these financial statements. And our opinion's in the second paragraph. I'm not going to read it all, but basically says that these financial statements are correct in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So clean audit opinion. After the opinion, which goes on a couple of pages, is the management discussion and analysis. So again, this is something that Labrita puts together. And she does a good job of highlighting, you know, increases, decreases from the previous year. So it's a good place to look just for the highlights of what went on. What I'm going to talk about is the statement of net position first. It's on page 11 in your book. And it has three columns. It has the governmental activities column, the business type activities, and the total column. So this is the primary government. The governmental activities is basically everything except for the public utilities fund. So if we look in that column, the governmental activities column, the total assets, you got about 185.8 million of assets. And this financial includes everything. That includes your capital assets, and then also includes your notes payable and bonds payable. So if you look down in your liabilities, so all your bonds payable, including your pension liability, your other post-employment benefit liability, total liabilities of 100.3 million. And then you get to your net position, which is basically your assets minus liabilities. You got these deferred inflows, outflows, but net position is 92.3 million. So that's basically your equity for all your governmental activities. And of that, 41.8 million is unrestricted. So obviously part of that 92 million's already been invested in capital assets, and then other parts of it is restricted for capital projects, 3.2 million, debt service 2.6 million, and then the unrestricted portion is 41.8 million. And then the next column is your business type activities. And actually, I'm going to talk about that when we get into the fund financial statements, because they're basically the same for the business type activities. So if you flip over to I'm going to skip page 12 and talk about the income statement on the fund level. The page 13 is the balance sheet of the governmental funds. So this is different in what we looked at earlier on the fund level financial statements. It does not include your capital assets. It does not include your long-term liabilities. So it's more of a current financial measurement focus. So again, you have, without fixed assets, you have about 76.5 million in the general fund. You got liabilities of 2.6 million, which is your payables and accrued expenses. And you get into your fund balance. And so your total fund balance, which again is your equity, is about 73.5 million. And of that, 62.1 million is unassigned. And then another 10.9 million is just what y'all have committed internally as a council for operating reserves. So again, good looking balance sheet. The other governmental funds are the Capital Improvement Fund, the 7 Mill Fund, and the Public Building Authority. And then there's some smaller funds that make up the total governmental funds. If you flip to page 14, it's basically your income statement. And again, this is by fund. So looking at the general fund, you had total revenues of $58.3 million, total expenses $43.1 million, and then you had some transfers in and out that decreased that income by $968,000 to get that net change in fund balance of $14.3 million. So again, that's your net income in the general fund for the year is $14.3 million. So that's where it increased your fund balance from last year. It was $59.3 million to this year it's up to $73.5 million. And then the other funds are there as well. If you flip over to page 16 and 17, this is the budget to actual for the general fund. So the far left column is the original budget that the council adopted. Then any amendments during the year get adjusted to get to the final budget. And then you have the actual column, which we just went over, and then any variance with the final budget. So again, y'all budgeted your final revenues. Your budget was $51.1 million. You came in at $58.3. So you had a positive variance with your budget of $7.2 million on the revenue side. And then the expense side, it goes by each department. And just kind of going down the variance, general government, you had $3.3 million less expenditures than what you budgeted. Public safety, about $3.7 million less than was budgeted. Public works, $1.2 million less. Culture and recreation, $932,000 less. So you get down to that net change in fund balance that we talked about, $14.2 million. Your original budget had budgeted a net income of about $3 million. You made these budget adjustments that was anticipating a loss of $2.8 million, but it ended up coming in at a net income of $14.2 million. Page 18 and 19.
Any questions thus far, council? Okay, all right.
All right, yeah, if you got any questions, just stop me. The statement of net position on page 18 and 19. So this is the Public Utilities Fund. So again, it's got its current assets, which is mainly cash of $14 million. It's got some restricted cash of $4.3 million. And then its capital assets are about $78.9 million. So your total assets are $97.2 million. You get down into your current liabilities of $5.2 million. And then your long-term liabilities, again, is your notes payable, bonds payable, pension and OPEB liabilities of $50 million. So your total liabilities are $56.1 million, which gets you down to your net position of $43.1 million. And of that, 34.1's already been invested in capital assets. You got $3 million restricted for debt service, but you got $5.9 million that's unrestricted. So, and so you get over to your income statement there on page 19, and operating revenues $16.1 million, operating expenses $13.2, so you had operating income of about $2.9 million. And then you get into your interest income, interest expense, and system development fees for your other non-operating loss. Then you had some capital contributions to get into your change in net position, which is your net income for the Public Utilities Fund, which is $3.6 million. So again, positive income statement for the Public Utilities Fund. And again, we had talked about this for years. It had been loss after loss after loss. In the last couple of years has been good looking net income, because that unrestricted net position, there used to not be any. It was negative. And so to now have unrestricted net position of $5.9 million, again, is from that positive net income over the last couple of years.
In mind, it's also safe to say we cut from 1,500, and our water rates and things too, that kind of help the bottom line with this. So I'm saying that for a reason, because there's going to be some other things coming that hopefully will increase our net position in this, with the proprietary funds. So it's business, strictly business.
That's right. And obviously, yeah, I mean, you got to generate income and cash. You've got bond payments, note payments has got to be made. Obviously, there's always capital projects in the Public Utilities Fund that are needing to be done. So it does need to generate some income for sure. Page 20 and 21 is just the statement of cash flows on the Public Utilities Fund. So you had $7.5 million provided by your operations. You had some non-capital financing of about $528,000. So you took that cash provided by operations and you went and, like we just said, bought some capital assets, constructed capital assets of $4.2 million, paid down principal of $2.3 million on the bonds, paid down principal on notes payable of $60,000, and paid interest of about $1.2 million. So that used about $7.8 million of your cash. Then you had some interest on your investments of $470,000 that got you to the net increase in cash for the year of $706,000. So again, a positive cash flow statement. So that's the main financials. After that, you get into the notes, and I'm not going to go through all those details. Again, a lot of information that backs up some of those numbers we just went over. It goes into details about the long-term debt, the different debt issuances. Also goes into detail of the pension liability and the other post-employment liability. I'm going to ask you to flip over to the compliance section, which again is toward the back. It's after page 67. So this is our report on internal control over financial reporting. So again, this is required in a governmental audit. So this is where we report our findings. We have the same findings that we've had the last few years, which is labeled 2024-01 through 2024-03, and we'll talk about those in a minute. No problems with the report on compliance with laws and other matters, so we did not find any instances of non-compliance that are required to be reported under these standards. Then the next report is required for federal programs. So when you receive over when you expend over $750,000 of federal monies in a year, you're required to have a single audit. So our opinion is there in the second paragraph. City complied in all material respects with the compliance requirements referred to above that could have a direct and material effect on each of its major federal programs. So again, a clean report on your federal programs. And you flip over to page 73, it shows the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. So again, the major program this year was the American Rescue Plan Act. The monies was spent $898,000. And also you had some DOT expenditures of about $433,000, DCA of $5,600, and a couple other smaller grants for $14,000. So total expenditures for the year was $1.35 million of federal monies. So page 75, again, talks about the material weaknesses I mentioned in that internal control report. Again, the financial reporting process, and that's just talking about the preparation of these financial statements, this book. Obviously, a bunch of disclosures in here that y'all rely on the external auditors to help you with. So again, we're just required to report that. The second one there on top of page 76 is limited segregation of duties. And again, we're just letting you all know that, hey, make sure, management is overlooking the financial function, and also you as the board due to those limited segregation of duties. And then the third item is the bank reconciliations and other accounting reconciliations. Again, just been behind in some of that. That's why part of the reason that we're just now delivering the September 30, 2024 audit. So again, they're working on improving that with staff and trying to improve that. So that's all I had on the audit. Any questions anyone's got?
Yeah, I noticed you, in the beginning of the audit explanation here, you kept saying restricted fund, restricted fund. The old fund restricted for special projects and stuff like that.
Yeah, so like when you issue bonds, you know, you have to say, hey, this is what we're going to spend this bond money on. So you can't just go use that money for payroll. It has to be for specific purpose. And then there's money that's restricted for debt service to pay off the debt.
So looking at this report, we're able to service our debt.
You're what?
We're able to service our debt.
That's right. That's right.
And actually pay off our debt.
Yes. And as long as we are still in that way minus grade, we could. Is that right?
Yeah, well, we're gonna try to get an uptick. And that one of the metrics is, that's why Sean's working hard to bring our average household income up. That's part of that metric. Hopefully move us.
All right.
Any questions? So, good report. Two things. First is that we're in compliance. Second thing, in the financial world, they'll say we're strong as potash. So, not knowing that. So, not anything you want to say, take away or add?
I guess I want to say that, I guess the plain, simplest thing that you can say when you have knowledge, when you got a firm is the credibility that rocks in the ground.
That's right.
But the main thing you want to hear is what you hear from the public. There's no money that's been sold, which you all find, right?
That's right, yeah. So we did not identify any fraud. Could it be occurring? Yes. Did we find it as part of our auditing process? No, we haven't.
We ain't compliant.
That's right.
Even the major mistakes when it comes to the funds would be in this report on what they did. I like talking straight, simple language to people that's out there that want to say different things and make accusations and cause mistrust of people that handle the money, because we have a department and these department heads do a good job of maintaining their budget. But if it just like you said a few minutes ago, to clarify things that you were saying there, and look at the amount of funds that we have, and the question that you asked Mr. Dave about servicing our debt, we can service that debt several times. We have done good with that. People need to understand what restricted funds are, what unencumbered funds are. If they don't understand that, they should be in a conversation about it. Or if they don't understand, they should ask questions about it. And this person that's here right now, ask those questions too. And he's giving a report. So, and I know there's no write things out, because we have to go back to the same thing year in and year out about this report. But even when you're behind, it doesn't mean that any money. So it's a matter of getting the report done and getting all the paperwork to the firm to get that taken care of. And that's throughout America. That's just not in the big city. But what we do here is try to make sure the finance director is always in touch with the auditors to make sure these things are done. And she's been pretty accurate in what she's had to do in working with y'all. And that's part of the thing for me as manager, and the questions that you all have. Have you all having conflict out of us in information, and have you had full cooperation? That's my question to you all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Labrita does a great job. I mean, again, it's delayed longer than I think any of us would want, Labrita included. And again, a lot of reasons for that. But when she gives it to us, we don't have a lot of adjustments. I mean, you'll see some adjustments behind this report I'm about to give you, But a lot of those are coming from her as she's still wrapping up things. She's trying to get it to us as she wraps things up. So a lot of those entries are coming from her. It's not like we're coming in and having to make a bunch of adjustments to clean up the books. She's doing a good job of that. Again, we talked about it before, just encourage to try to, get it to you all earlier so that it's not so late. Because again, if there was something going on and we are this far out, it would be an issue. But again, I think with better staffing, hopefully that timeline can improve.
But in that to improvement, even years that it's been behind, no matter how you all catch up after this year or that year, have it ever been an issue?
No, we have not had, again, we've got these material weaknesses that we've identified, again, that say, look, y'all can improve these things, but yeah, even though it's been late, when we've come in to do the audit, yeah, we're not finding anything, misappropriation of money or anything like that in our audit.
My last question is for y'all professionals. Do Phenix City run a clean set of books?
Yes.
And I want to add something to that as well, and this is the independent audit. Has nothing to do with budget system.
Yeah, we're independent. Yeah, if we were not independent, we could not perform this audit. Absolutely.
That's federal requirement.
Yes.
Federal.
Well, it's not told up at the stop sign, correct? That's required. They have to be independent.
And I want our citizens to understand
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that all needs, we need to be clear here so people can hear this, because that's one of the most detrimental things to a city is when people start making up stories or flat out lying. I'm bold when I say that, because we have to deal with that so much. You have to deal with that a lot. So I like the truth being put out in front of people, and especially while we're in court.
Can you speak to the limited segregations of duties in terms of the funding or the statement funding?
Yeah, so again, it's pretty normal to have a limited segregation of duties finding. It's not unusual. Again, with limited staff and turnover in staff, there's not as, the duties aren't segregated as well as would be done in a perfect scenario. Again, but it would probably require a larger staff and people with more experience for her to be able to turn over some of those duties to others. I mean, there is segregation. We're just saying it's limited segregation of duties.
It's not wide and broad.
Right.
Because of that. And which is, a lot of times, I'm not saying typical is good, but typically it's because of the lack of employees and the experience, as he stated. But for the most part, the main thing, we are in compliance. And I do want to mention this is that, any council member, anywhere, I'm not just talking about here in Phoenix City, but throughout this country or world, if they're not leading by integrity and character and morals, then that's where the money started coming up. Houdini sticks. Y'all know who Houdini is, don't you? But this council has always, and will always lead with that. Those two ingredients, integrity, or 3, character and morals. So I know a lot of people think and say that money's been taken, and I do know in experience when I first came on, I think I can speak for the rest of them too, that people always try to put that in your head to say this and that, but at the end of the day, the truth always won't out lie. So we have a lot to be thankful of. First, that we have a replica company that's doing it, and the numbers do not lie. So, thank you all, Brian.
But Mayor, I want to address that. That's the key to it. The other one you have to deal with is that the city is broke. As you can see, that y'all We ain't nowhere near that.
Not when you have 401 days operating funds.
I also put a report up there, again, nothing, it's just a required communication with those charged with governance, which is the city council. So again, if there were issues that we identified during the audit, we would put them in this report. So nothing, again, unusual. Like I said, we did attach the adjustments, which is we're required to do. And again, a lot of these are, again, coming from Labrita after she's given us the beginning trial balance. So again, nothing unusual in that letter, but did want to get that in y'all's hands. So.
City is a business. Character and integrity and morals. If you don't have people in leadership position that's going to lead with those three most highly important attributes, then you'll start having problems. And we thank God that we don't, because we're leading that way. Any other questions?
I have one. Mr. Rutledge, you've had a chance to compile all the numbers for our city based off of what you have over the past year or two. What are some of the things that we could work on as a city? We're in good financial standing, but could you identify any strength and weakness or threat that we're under some pretty rough, well, the nation is, you know, where we are as a nation and trying to just keep up with inflation and all. What are some of the things that our city could do based off of what you've seen that could increase in different areas? And we know we're gonna have expenditures, but what are, once again, one or two things that we could do to say, you know, the next 3 to 5 years, you could be here if you do this.
Right.
Just cite one or two things.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, y'all have made significant improvements from where y'all were. I mean, y'all have been doing that. Again, a lot of governments, talking to Mr. Hunter earlier before the meeting, you know, there was all these COVID-related funds that these governments got, and so sometimes they got too bloated, you know.
Copy.
And so, you know, some of these entities are having to shrink back down or getting used to not having these federal funds. You know, I think y'all were able to use those for, obviously for their purpose, and use them to fund some projects that you didn't have to tap, you know, your general fund. And so you have seen your general fund reserves go up. You've seen your public utilities funds go up. And again, I would just encourage, you know, the city, and I know y'all are doing that, but you got to be looking forward for infrastructure, you know, thinking about public utilities and roads as well. You know, you got to continue to look forward to, hey, look, we've got to continue to show profit in this utilities fund, to fund these projects, to make sure, because again, you got all kind of environmental laws and regulations that you got to deal with, and there's more coming, you know, and that's the thing, you don't know what's coming. So I would encourage y'all to continue to build your fund balance. Yeah, because again, I mean, these gas prices affect everybody and certainly affect y'all's budget. I mean, you got people riding around, and so those costs, you know, when y'all prepared that budget, you didn't know, you had no idea these gas
It's
prices.
a moving document.
That's right.
It's a moving document.
That's right.
So in other words, to sum it up, and I tell Mr. Hunter this all the time, he's done a great job, just sending it down to his department head. Basically, we got to keep our hands on the steering wheel at the end of the day, because if not, being on your knees is a good thing, but we don't want to get on our knees from a financial standpoint.
Thank you, Mr. Rutledge.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
I dropped my glasses somewhere.
Thank you all so much. I'm looking forward to this because it validates what this council and this city stands for with those attributes I spoke of earlier.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.